Welcome to another episode of Jason's Talk. God kind of got me moving today, wanting me to do a video, and this video is going to be I think I know it's going to be an important one, but it's like, not everybody's going to want to listen, and everybody needs to listen. So, I was up, I did my farm duty, I took care of everybody, and God was like, when are you going to do another video? And I was like, well, I've kind of been waiting on you, I guess. I got hurt, and that incapacitated me for about 4 days. But after that, I was just kind of waiting on God, right? So he's like, when are you going to do a video? And I said, well, what do you want me to do a video about? So he's like, I want you to do a video about end times. And I'm like, Revelations? And it didn't sit right. So I was confused a little bit. And then I talked to my mom, and when I was with my mom, or talking to my mom, she picked up my grandma, and so I had grandma and my mom on the phone. So I started talking about just things that I wouldn't associate with end times, but that's what clicked, right? That's what God was like, that's the one. He kept pushing me to talk more to my grandma, and particularly about the end times. Not necessarily about the video, right? But about end times. And I was like, okay. So I started talking about what was going on with her instead. I don't know how to direct a conversation to someone. So God just took control, right? He's like, we're gonna get this on topic. So apparently me and my mom had already touched on it some, because she's got a black widow problem. And I was like, you gotta establish dominance. And I'm not saying you have to establish dominance like you've got to be the bigger person, right? You establish dominance in God when you let Him be in charge, right? You're His servant. So, like, for instance, okay, my mom's problem, she's got black widows. She found 7 of them on her front porch, okay? Can't have that, especially, in her area. She lives in an apartment, It's not just endangering her and her family there, it's also endangering the people that live in that apartment area. So, I'm telling her, you've got to establish your dominance. And it's like casting out demons, when you're dealing with somebody's home and you have to cast out demons from their home, you don't just cast them out of their house. You have to cast them out of their yard as well, right? You have to establish a perimeter line. And so when you establish dominance, you're doing the same thing. You establish that perimeter line. And the reason you do that is because in the Bible, where it says that we are the light, right? We're supposed to let our light shine, let His light shine through us. That's literally what you do, right? You hone in on that connection, that personal walk that you have with God. And that puts you in His peace. And His peace is something that it's hard enough to focus on just you and Him in that peace. It's harder to focus on you and one other person, let alone more than one other person, okay? It's extremely helpful if you have other people who are like-minded Christians and they can hone in on God as well. Because then it's not just you honing in on God, it's somebody else honing in on God. And the communication that you can have with that other person it's just different, right? Because you're not having to focus energy on that other person because they're doing it as well. So having more than one person when it comes to casting out demons is like crucial, right? When it comes to establishing your dominance, it's not always, you don't always have another person to help you establish that. So when you establish your dominance, it's more of a personal connection between you and God. So when you walk your perimeter, or wherever you go, just going to the grocery store, wherever it is that you go, you have to bring God with you. And that establishes your walk in life with God. If He can't be always at the forefront, you're not choosing Him. And that's, I struggle with it. I struggle with that hardcore, man. I swear, if I went to the doctor and actually sat through all their testing and whatnot, they would probably tell me that I'm ADD or ADHD or whatever. I went through an online testing thing, said I was off the charts, man. I can't focus for nothing. I can't multitask for nothing. But God is something that I can focus on. And I can put all of my attention on Him. And it's helped me tremendously in my life with God. Because, let me tell you this, man. When I was 3 years old, I was abused by my biological father. And, my mom, she went to court and tried to put him in jail, but it didn't work out that way. But, everything's in God's control, right? So, from that point on, my mom was with the guy that I considered my dad for the majority of my life, Mike. He's not what you would consider a Christian. I'm not saying that he wasn't a Christian. I'm not saying that he's not saved or whatever, but I'm saying that, I am saying that, he was a good guy. And he tried his best, right? But as far as me seeing his personal walk with Christ, I didn't see that. And realistically, you don't want to see somebody else's walk in Christ because you don't want your walk with Christ to be known. That's why He tells you to go to the closet to pray, so that other people don't see you. But you do want Him to be there every second of every day. Like the closer that you can be with Him at all times, the better your life is. And so for me, when Mike, basically he chose to leave my mom, okay, I'm not going to get into details, it doesn't matter. The point is that when he left, I think I was 8 years old when that happened, and it was 12 years old when we ended up moving to Tennessee. And I didn't, I at that point I was like, I don't have a dad. That's okay. It got me to the point watching my mom go in and out of relationships, right, after Mike. Like, stable, she was really stable with Mike. And then she broke it off with Mike because of what Mike did. And then that just put her in a position that, she was, I don't know, I can't speak for her. I don't know what the deal is. I just know that for me, it was like she was never single after that, okay? And for me, I was like, I don't have a dad, because if I did have a dad, then the dad would stay, right? I got frustrated one time. Frustrated enough that I said, you know what? I don't need a dad. I've got God. Now, I said this happened before I was 12, before I moved to Tennessee. But it's important because from that moment on is when my life really changed. And I didn't really even realize it until I got older and I could look back on my life and be like, wow, that really happened because of that. When you're in my kind of position, right, where you're focusing on God and you're always looking at the present, you're never looking at the future, and you're never looking at the past. You're just looking at the here and now. That's all you look at, right? And it's a good thing because you build and establish a relationship with God when that's who you're focusing on all that time. But it doesn't give you a chance to evaluate your past. And for me, my past was so traumatic that I never wanted to look at it. So, I pretty much didn't. But just to be aware, I'm probably gonna have to break this up because of how long it's going. So I'm not gonna be able to do any kind of editing. I don't have a studio or anything like that. So the one episode is just gonna probably cut off, and then the episode after that'll probably continue. But Charlie's wanting to say hi. Hi, Charlie. You wanting to say hi, buddy? You wanting to say hi, buddy? Hi, Charlie. He likes to be out here and he likes his attention. He's an attention hound. Aren't you, pretty boy? Yeah. Anyway, now he's got his 5 minutes of fame. Not even. So back to what I'm trying to get at here. God has had me on this walk with Him from that point on. I was saved before then, but it's different, right? You can know God, you can know who He is, you can even go to church, you can do all those things, but until you actually start that personal walk with God, that's when everything changes. That's when everything really changes. So I can't say that I was actually saved before then, but my whole life, I can't remember a time that I didn't have God. And even when I was doing stupid stuff, I wasn't following a Christian path at all, right? But to me, God was always head honcho, I mean, when I decided to do my stupid stuff, was after I had made the commitment that He is my dad. He's my replacement dad. So I don't know. I don't know if that made a difference or not. I just know that when it comes to for instance, witchcraft, I tried to get into that, and that didn't work out well because I wasn't going to something else, right? I wasn't going to a demon. I wasn't going to Satan. I wasn't going to any of that stuff. I was going to go to God. And you can't do dark magic stuff when you're invoking, a God of light. It doesn't work like that. So nothing ever really worked for me. But that's how that works, right? And when you turn over God, and I'm glad I never did, but if you turn over God when you're doing that stuff, and you invoke something else, that something else takes over you, so you're no longer you. God at least lets you make your decisions, right? When He takes over you, He's like, I'm just